Welcome to Betting Weekly Live. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Jack Wright. Over the course of the next half an hour, we'll be talking our way through the Monday Night Soccer, highlighting the best bets. Plus, we've a roundup of the winners and losers from week 2 of the NFL season and the big wagers on tonight's Falcons-Eagles game. Get your picks and questions in as early as you can via the comments on YouTube. And if you've been tailing any of our picks over the course of the last few days, let us know. Screenshot your picks, post them on X, and we will be happy to give you a shout out. Jack, a very good day to you. You were obviously a man in form over the course of the weekend with your 2-unit play cashing on the Premier League show. And for the 4th consecutive week, your 1-unit play as well. You're flying at the minute.
It's going well, isn't it? Yeah, very happy with the start to the season. Good day to you, by the way, Dan. Forgive me for not saying that at the top. I was too excited. It's gone really well. So we said, didn't we, about keeping the powder a little bit dry and initially. And this is now getting to that part of the season, very early part of the season that I really enjoy because obviously as a sort of data-driven guy, I do like once we've got these kind of checkpoints. So 5 games in, 10 games in are those parts where I can now just kind of have that enough data to drive what's happening in the current season rather than patchwork it together. But yeah, really solid start, really pleased with it. Not many of the bets, if any of the bets actually are changed. And we'll keep the good times rolling.
Jack was a notable winner over the course of the weekend. Hopefully you were telling Jack's plays. Plenty of notable winners over the course of the NFL weekend. Although I have to tell you, we got some breaking news just before we came on air from the Bet Rivers traders who suggested to me that it was not a good weekend for bettors at all. Generally, 2 of the big games just didn't go for the bettors at all. And the sportsbook managed to secure 2 of the biggest wins that they've ever done on the Ravens-Raiders game and also the Dolphins-Bills game, where favourites were bet, but then the line changed, overs were bet, and offences were in complete control, so lines weren't hit. So generally, it was the bookies rather than the bettors that got the best of the battle. There were some notable winners over the NFL weekend. $43,000 play on the Bears at plus 7.5 at the Texans, which won $40,000 on the Packers, plus 4 against the Colts at minus 143, which cashed as well. Also Notre Dame in college football. There were some notable losers, not just those Ravens, Raiders, and Dolphins Bills games, but also a $52,000 wager on the Panthers at plus 7.5 at minus 159 against the Chargers that lost, and also a $20,000 play on the 49ers money line at minus 200, and unfortunately that lost as well. So that was the situation in terms of NFL over the course of the weekend. One UFC play as well, which failed to cash. This was the O'Malley Divalishvili UFC clash. Don't know if you were across this one at all, Jack. But Swan had $17,000 on it not to go the distance, which lost. Not really a UFC fan, I must admit. Are you across UFC at all, Jack? Is it a betting thing for you?
I'll be honest, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, but I'm lucky with your Bears bet there. That $20,000 that you, never mind. You'll get it back.
Now then, let's talk Premier League, shall we? Because this is the latest situation when it comes to the Premier League action and the latest prices for you as well. Manchester City, of course, Jack, were winners at the weekend. They got the better of Brentford by 2 goals to 1, minus 112 for the title. Arsenal, big winners at Spurs in the North London derby. They are now 2-1 for the title. How do you see the title race at the minute, Jack?
I think it was not only a massive win for Arsenal this weekend, but it was a big one for them as far as the title race is concerned because, again, defensively, they impressed so much against Spurs. And Manchester City were a little bit fortunate, a little bit underwhelming in edging past Brentford. So I think, again, the balance has probably swung a little bit in Arsenal's favour. Obviously, the odds still reflect that Man City are the strong favourites, but of course, a huge clash this weekend where they come face to face. So Arsenal, massive dogs for that, aren't they? Already, obviously looking ahead to the weekend as you do, massive dogs. So that might be a little bit of something we'll cover, I believe, in the Premier League show for this coming weekend.
And when you look at the Liverpool price there as well, Jack, I mean, they're out to plus 800. I asked you on the Premier League show, do we get involved at around about plus 450, plus 480? We were suggesting, it could still be a better, at least I was, but now they're back out to 8-1. What do you make of Liverpool and that defeat of the hands of Forest?
that shows you how quick it swings. I think in the Premier League, with those two at the top of the table, you can't slip up. And we were talking about Arsenal slipping up last weekend. Before the international break with that 1-1 draw with Brighton. And that was a wobble enough for people to get a little bit edgy. So you can't, especially at home, especially against not a team like Nottingham Forest, no disrespect for them, but they're obviously going to be considered as one of the lesser lights. That kind of then puts a massive problem as far as trying to keep up with the relentless pace that those two at the top are going to be showing throughout the course of the season. It seems you look at their record elongated over the back end of last season, coming into this season, it's phenomenal. It's really absolutely crazy how they can do it. So for me, it is a 2-horse race. I can't see anything outside of those two winning it.
Interesting that Simon's come on and suggested that Arsenal's win at Spurs was title-winning stuff, especially with all the missing players. City home to Arsenal. City with 1.5 days more rest ahead of this one. Arsenal back and forth to Bergamo. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one in the Champions League on Thursday, incidentally. Ming's been on talking about the Championship. We'll get to one or two Championship stories a little bit later on the show. And Dow says, anyone like the unders in the Falcons-Eagles tonight? We've got some big bets for you in that game, incidentally, that we will highlight for you shortly. Just to go back to those Premier League prices, Jack, anything in terms of the relegation market that has caught your eye? Obviously, Southampton beaten again. They are minus 250 now to be relegated. Leicester minus 190. Ipswich minus 112. Everton beaten again with that 2-goal lead over Aston Villa this time around. They're plus 135 to go down. Is it a case for Everton that might be saved by three worse teams? Anything caught your eye in terms of the relegation market?
You got to keep looking at Everton, and sides that continue to lose in that manner are always ringing the alarm bells. Finding ways to get beaten is not a good habit. Southampton were the ones that I liked at the start of the season. For some reason, they were the kind of, as far as the traders were concerned, the most likely of the three to survive. I couldn't see it. I still can't see it. I just don't see Russell Martin as a man that's going to change his style of play. And I've said it a few times already. It's going to get very boring as it goes throughout the course of the season, that they are last season's Burnley, but probably without as decent a quality of players that Burnley had. So they're just going to struggle so badly unless there is a change of manager there and a change of style. But even that, I can't see them any hope for them. I think people have talked about Ipswich. They're finding ways, a back to the wall point against Brighton. They've kind of been the most impressive, I suppose you'd call them, of the relegated three. But I think you're right. Generally speaking, as we saw last season, it's those three promoted sides that are kind of keeping people in jobs and say a little bit in the betting wise that they're say further out than they potentially would be. Everton and Wolves are the two outside of those three that look worrying at the moment. Sorry, Wolves fans, we're coming for you again.
Yeah, Wolves, who we tipped last season, didn't go down the plus 225 at the moment. Henry's been back on, says, for future reference, in the UFC flyweight class, favourites win most of the time. Yeah, look, you can school me all day when it comes to UFC because it's not my sport whatsoever. Let's get into some of the plays that potentially we can point you in the right direction tonight. Big game, of course, in League One. I was a little bit like this, Jack, whether to include it in the show because Birmingham and Wrexham, of course, piques our interest on these shores. Two clubs that have got American owners. Not quite sure how much the USA betting public are going to get stuck into this one, but it's live in the UK. It's live in the States as well, 3 p.m. Eastern. Birmingham were the anti-post favourites, the futures favourites for League One. Wrexham came up from League Two, have done brilliantly and currently top the table. Birmingham are minus 136 or so, minus 125 now. So they've drifted a little bit today. The tie plus 270, Wrexham plus 320. What do you make of this Birmingham-Wrexham situation? I mean, this is a little bit Hollywood, isn't it?
A little bit, isn't it? If there's ever going to be a League One game that's going to send ripples over to the States, it's got to be this one. Obviously, Tom Brady, for those not in the know, very much involved with Birmingham. And, of course, Ryan Reynolds and the other guy, Rob McElhenney, involved with Wrexham. So it is going to have some interest. You do see headlines in the national press and so more featuring of these two sides than any others as far as League One. That's the third tier in English football. So, yeah, and some of the money obviously washing around with Birmingham, especially this season, is absolutely incredible. They've just spent $20 to $25 million on a a striker who's unproven, plenty of potential, but hasn't done anything at this moment in time. So it's incredible money for that level. And obviously this slot is normally reserved for the Premier League games, a bit of a high profile one in the Premier League fixture list. Not this case because of course, the Champions League coming up. Then it normally goes to the Championship, but I bypass that because this one does kind of catch the eye of the TV companies, doesn't it? So a very interesting one. Two very different kind of styles of play. And as you say, Wrexham have come up from non-league, have flexed their financial money and their financial muscle in that level and League Two, but now are kind of classified as the underdog. But go into this game tonight, top of the table, having started very, very well.
Yeah, how do you see it from a betting point of view? How flashed the prices up before? I mean, I tend to think that maybe Wrexham have overachieved a little bit here. I mean, their XG is a lot less than the goals that they've actually scored. They've netted 11, and likewise, their expected goals against is a lot higher than the amount of goals they've actually conceded. I tend to side with Birmingham, but Wrexham obviously are getting the job done at the moment. Any sort of play for you in tonight's League One game?
It has switched a little bit. As you said, Birmingham were like minus 130 odd. I thought that was a little bit too long for me, given the setup and how Wrexham have started and the size that they played against. And Phil Parkinson, again, is a manager that's been around the block a few times. And I think he got stung last season. They got beat 5-0 by Stockport. And he's kind of changed his approach in these bigger games last season and already this season. They played a couple of big sides, notably a very similar kind of tie. They went to Bolton and drew 0-0. So I'd probably be siding with the unders in this one because Birmingham have got so many new players as well, and they've struggled to get the job done. They've won all their games they have won by a single goal, and they drew their opener 1-1 thanks to a late penalty. So it's a nervy one, but I think Wrexham would certainly take the draw. So therefore, I was looking initially at Wrexham and the tie. You could get a decent plus money. I think it's around about plus 100 now. Checked just before we came on air, but that unders would be the direction I would go. But so a Birmingham narrow win, so it wouldn't be a massive shock. They should do, given the money they've spent and the squad they're putting together for the level they're at the moment.
Yeah, I like the unders. I must admit, I think 1-0, 2-0 Blues might be the way to call it. There's a massive guest list, apparently, for this game at St Andrews. It is a sellout. I mean, I'm hearing, obviously, Tom Brady probably be there. We don't know. I mean, I'm hearing Tom Cruise. I'm hearing David Beckham. I'm hearing Nigel Seeley. And Nigel's still in the Mediterranean, so he'll have to get his private jet to land into Birmingham International if he is going to. He's probably got 4 together somewhere. Yeah, he's usually got tickets for absolutely everything, hasn't he? One or two comments coming in about Ipswich saying the most willing to adapt. Southampton look lost, talking about Premier League relegation. I thought they would beat United, but given up on them now. Alexander talking about Champions League. Yes, all this week we're going to talk Champions League Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Let's get into some of the European football that we've got coming up tonight, because we've got games in La Liga and Serie. I've got quite a few comments regarding the Rayo game from Simon. Let's just give you the fixtures that are coming up tonight, because there's some good games in Serie and an earlier kickoff for that Parma Udinese game, which starts 12:30 Eastern. The Lazio fixture comes up at 2:45 Eastern. So we'll talk Italy first of all here. Parma plus 128 here. Jack on the money line. Udinese are plus 220. The over and under, with under favoured at minus 130. Udinese had a poor season last campaign, but they've started pretty well here. And Lazio against Verona here. Lazio are the short price favourites at minus 177. Verona 5-1 at the moment. The tie plus 310. There's been a little money around for a couple of goal scorers, but I'll let you talk through any particular bets you've got in Italy first up. Jack, anything catch your eye in the Serie A fixtures tonight?
I think the first one, the Parma one, which kicks off in just over an hour's time, is a pretty tough one to call as far as the result is concerned. Two sides that kind of come into it with real contrast in luck, I think, from the last game. You could certainly say that. It looked like Parma were going to cause a massive upset, didn't they? Beating Napoli 1-0 up going into added on time, and again another side that managed to do an Everton, we'll call it, and managed to throw that one away with 2 goals in stoppage time and ended up losing 2-1. So yeah, pretty tough. They also had their goalkeeper sent off in that one, didn't they? And Enrico Del Prato, one of my favourite names of the Italian Serie A, is went in goal. He went in net, but unfortunately couldn't manage to keep anything out there. He got booked as well. So maybe look at a card for a goalkeeper there. It seems to be the trend. But yeah, I found it quite tough. Udinese were kind of the opposite side of the luck in that one, wasn't they? They conceded a late penalty against Como, another promoted side, and 1-0. Como then missed that penalty, and Udinese hung on to win the game. So real fine margins we can talk there. We could be coming into this game with Parma having beaten Napoli and Udinese having drawn with Como, but not to be. If I'm pushed on this one, I'd probably go with, I've got a bit of a feeling for a draw in it, but I'll probably go, if you're looking for a lean, over 2.5 goals, -117, I believe that price is.
Just let you know where some of the money's been going from our Bet Rivers colleagues when it comes to these 2 fixtures in Italy. 84% of the money, 66% of the tickets on Parma, and 79% of the tickets on overs as well. And there's also been a little bit of money around for Anjou and Bonny to score on the anytime goal scorer list. And we should lean on James Easton as well here, because Dennis Mann, he has tipped up previously on the European show to score for Parma. He didn't score when James tipped you up, and then he scored the very next game when he played for his national side, Romania against Kosovo. He's plus 255 to score at any time, incidentally. And if you like Brenner, who had an injury hit season last campaign, scored a lot of goals for FC Cincinnati, Major League Soccer fans will know. He's plus 380 to score at any time in that Parma Udinese game. He's an Udinese striker. Let's just run through the... Sorry, Jack, you were about to say?
Yeah, only simply that on the goals thing, one thing I forgot to mention was both these sides have got a little bit of a record of early goals. And so that might be an angle in as well. If you're looking at goals in this one, potentially looking at over 1.5 first half, plus 165, that is. So that's if you're looking for a bit of a more of a juicier price, then that might be something that catches your eye. And say both have got little decent records. If you dig into it,
plenty of comments. Sorry, Jack. Yeah, plenty of comments coming in. Yeah, plenty of comments coming in about the Rayo Osasuna game. We've had Simon on, who says Rayo have won the last 2 seasons, 2-1 at home to Osasuna, and also Rayo's 4 La Liga matches this season have ended either 2-1 or 1-2. Now, Steve Wiss has been unlucky with a few of his picks over the course of the weekend, but his leans have been absolutely flying. He liked both teams to score yes in this one at just over even money. Rayo are plus 105 here, Osasuna plus 310, and the tie plus 210. And the over underline there, as you can see, is just 1.5. So maybe unders is the way to play it. But I can tell you that we had some significant money when it comes to Rayo, and 88% of the tickets on over. There's also been some significant cash bets on Rayo on the money line and over 8.5 corners here. Tend to think that this could be a Rayo win. They've won the last couple at home against Osasuna, roughly the same sort of price. Any angle in for you, Jack, in this game in Spain?
It seems like I've got the support, or I'm following the support you then talked about. I actually thought that Rayo were a fairly decent price here, plus money to win this one. You look at the records, don't really stack up to that, but certainly something that's eye-catching for me was James Rodriguez being picked up by Rayo Vallecano. He's kind of having a bit of a renaissance, isn't he? He's been superb for Colombia. He's obviously played out in the national break for Colombia, and included in that victory over Argentina as well. So, very interesting pick up for them there. If he can, I don't know if he'll be playing or starting tonight, but he might well come off the bench and have some game time. He's certainly one to keep an eye on. Awesome as far as his set piece delivery is concerned, and I know there are assists markets with Bet Rivers, and they're all to score and or assist, one of the two. So something to look on, if not for tonight, then potentially over the next few games with him. But yeah, I've just lent on Vallecano here. I just feel that they've got a little bit too much for Osasuna, and the league table is a little bit skewed with Osasuna mainly having their games at home so far. So their only away game was 4-0 drubbing at Girona admittedly, Verona are a decent level, of course, Champions League this season. But yeah, I felt that with the home advantage, so the last couple have been 2-1, beat them 2-1 last season. That seems like a fair result to me. If I had to pin my colours to the mast of a correct score and therefore give you all the other derivative markets, it would be a 2-1 home win.
Yeah, 2-1 home win. As Simon suggested, going back to the Italian game, Mandip's been on saying both teams to score yes in the Parma Udinese game. That's the European football wrapped up for tonight. Some really good games coming your way in Italy and in Spain. Ming's been back on, said Osasuna just beat Celta. That merits respect. It does, to be fair, because Celta are quite wild and they're very good going forward. But we shall see. I think on the road, they may well get beat. We'll see. We can test. You can test your opinion, of course, with the prices that are available. Let's just move on to the NFL and the Monday night action that's going to be coming up, because this is the Atlanta Falcons at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll give you the market report from our colleagues at Bet Rivers first of all, because there's been some significant wagers on this fixture, as you might imagine. The money line there, you can see the Eagles are minus 250 favourites with the Falcons plus 200. The spread here is plus 1.5, plus 5.5, and the over and under is 46. In terms of where the money has gone today, and obviously we're speaking to our traders fairly early on, because this is an evening kickoff stateside, as we all know. So these are the early market moves for you. On the money line, 96% of the money and 94% of the tickets on the Eagles. On the spread, similar type of story, 83% on the money, 84% of the tickets on the Eagles. We've had a $12,500 bet on the Eagles on the money line at minus 250, very short. There's also been some sizable wagers on under 46 points, and we've had one on the handicap with the Eagles minus 5.5 at minus 110. And again, that runs close to 5 figures. So some big wagers on tonight's game. When it comes to the prop bets, the players that seem to be interesting the betting public: Saquon Barkley, anytime touchdown for the Eagles. Bijan Robinson, anytime touchdown as well. Ray McLeod, over 2.5 receptions. Tyler Algier, under 24.5 rushing yards at minus 180, and Devonta Smith for the Eagles, anytime touchdown at plus 125. Those are the prop bets that the betting public stateside are interested in. Jack, anything to add when it comes to your particular play, when it comes to the game tonight, Monday Night Football, the Falcons at the Eagles?
Well, I'm no expert on the American football. I do enjoy watching it. I do enjoy having a bet on it. And the Monday Night Football is one I do hone in on, because it follows our own Monday Night Football in the UK. So the soccer into the American football. Early hours here, of course, for us, the American football. And also it helps me when there's only one game to concentrate on. And so I'm not an expert, but I am a geek, as you well know. So I can go through my stats and try and pick out certain things. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff in there. There was a comment earlier on, forgive me, I can't remember who put it through, saying about the unders in this one. And I think that's a fair play, given the fact that Atlanta's offense didn't fire last time out. 10 points in the first half, didn't score any in the second half. Debut for the quarterback, 37 years old, and he's got quite a young offense around him, and it didn't quite click. If it can, then we might be in a bit of trouble for it, but I can see why the unders is a good play there. I fancy the Eagles. That's what I've gone on. My personal one bet in this one is Eagles team total, which is 25.5 with Bet Rivers at minus 113. I think they'll get the job done in this respect. And so we don't have to worry about the Falcons then coming to the party if you were playing the overs, certainly on that one. And so I just feel that the Eagles will get high 20s, maybe even go north of 30 points in this one. So obviously their star last week was Saquon Barkley with his trio of touchdowns, as you well know. 2 on the deck, 1 in the air. So great start for him on debut for the New York Giants.
Yeah, there's one or two interesting prop bets that you can have, and there's plenty of interest in certainly Saquon Barkley, no doubt about that. We've got one or two more comments coming. Simon's been back on, must be a little bit of a Spanish football expert here, because Simon suggested here that Raul Tomas, the Vallecano striker, might be out. Controversially, according to Mark, he says he jetted off for a bullfight in Nîmes, and the fans and the club apparently are quite angry.
How did he go on in the bullfight? Did he beat the bull, or?
Yeah, how can I say? Yeah, I don't know.
He's an
I would
injury
have
now, I
thought it'd be
think.
quite the Spanish public would be quite happy about that. I've got no idea, but we'll see if he starts a little bit later on tonight. That's Raul de Tomas. We'll watch out for him on the starting lineup or not. One or two other things that we're going to cover off before we wrap things up, Jack, and we'll get your best bet as well. But you messaged me earlier today. You wanted to talk about Stoke because Steven Schumacher has been sacked after Stokes won their loss to Oxford at the weekend. I don't know how much of a surprise this is or not. I mean, I didn't think they'd started particularly badly, but obviously it's bad enough for them to get rid of Schumacher, who was doing a fair job at Plymouth, wasn't he, previously? And they're at about 16-1 to go down. To me, Stoke have never made the most of any sort of parachute payments after they came down from the Premier League, and they've never really had a run at going back up. What do you make of the latest there that's going on at the 365 Stadium?
I think it's a big surprise for me. They won a couple of games at the start of the season. They lost 3, so they were sitting, I think, about 13th in the table at this moment in time. They've never finished in the top half. You're right. Since they've come down from the Premier League, they put a lot of money at it. I think it was Gary Rowett in charge in that first season they came down from the Premier League, kind of seen as a little bit of a championship expert, I suppose, and that didn't work out. And they've gone through a succession of managers. Tony Mowbray's been in there. Alex Neil's been in there. Both managers that have been successful in the Championship. They then went down a different route, of course, this time round with Schumacher, who did well at Plymouth, got them the League One title ahead of Ipswich, of course. So that was a kind of testament to how well he did that season. And they poached him from there. And it's been, I think his end of the season run was pretty strong. I haven't got the exact stats on it, but I think they've won like 9 of their last 14. So it's not including last season. So it's not horrific at all. And the talk where they're going with the appointment, I think there has been some slight rumours about Des Buckingham, who's at Oxford at the moment. Ironically, the side that beat them at the weekend, which was apparently the straw that broke the camel's back. But there's also talk about a couple of guys close to my heart who are first team coaches at Norwich, who have zero managerial experience. So it would be a real leap of faith if they were to put those guys in charge. Very well respected championship level coaches, but no experience of management. And we've seen, as I said, a lot of managers that have got decent championship pedigree get chewed up and spat out at Stoke. So if I was to be given one of your special free $10 bets, then I would probably go in with a side that they're more likely to go down than go up. But yeah, I think they were sort of mid-table-ish side. They've got a lot of young players. They've got the second youngest average squad in the Championship, only behind Sunderland, or with that respect. So, they obviously want guys in there that can look to get and improve young talent, but it's a very tough gig on that basis for 2 new guys going in. So yeah, watch on that one.
We did have a comment regarding the Championship and who you'd like to win it. I mean, Leeds are still the favourites at plus 165. Burnley, despite winning at Ellen Road, are plus 550. Borough now third favourites at 9-1, with Sheffield United at 10-1. West Brom, good win at the weekend for them, at 10-1 as well. I mean, in terms of the Championship, anything catch your eye? Leeds still deserve favourites. They tend to play well, but not get the wins at the moment. We had plenty of comments on one of our shows at the weekend, the Premier League show, talking about Leeds. I know they're a Championship side, saying that, look, they keep playing well, but I think Daniel Farke, it wouldn't be surprised if he might be the next manager out. When it comes to the futures, who do you like in the Championship, Jack?
I'm heavily invested in Leeds already, so that kind of sways me a little bit to an extent. I watched the game on Saturday, and I thought Leeds, well, they had 2 or 3 glorious chances before Burnley went and scored, so that could have completely swung that game. I think the Championship's going to be a very, very, very tight heat this season. We've obviously still got the January window to come. There'll be managerial moves as well. I know the Leeds fan, Steve Wiss, I know he's been on here. He'll probably give us a bit more moan and groan about Leeds if he gets a chance to type it out. But I know a couple of good friends of mine are Leeds fans that aren't happy, although they've started, again, not too bad. But Farke's under a lot of pressure there. He needs to start, picking the results up. But I mentioned them last time I think I was on, where I had to pick a side out. It was Sheffield United at a price. West Brom have impressed. I wouldn't really want to be siding with the new leaders just on the back of some good performances. But again, that could all change. Carlos Corberán is a manager that's well sought after. So again, if a club or a job comes available at a higher level, then he'll be on the short list, and that could completely change. I think Corberán makes West Brom at the moment, so that would be a air of caution for me on that. And obviously Sunderland lost their first game of the season as well at the weekend to Plymouth. So it's one of those leagues. It's bonkers at the moment, and I think I'd be looking at possibly, if I was betting now, I'd be looking at double digits at least as far as the odds are concerned. A Sheffield United possibly still one of those sides that have got a real good squad together, and a manager that again has been there and done it and seems to be getting back to kind of towards his best. And here comes Steve.
Yeah, it's one of those leagues, and it will continue to be one of those leagues forever. I think it's the Championship, and it's strange things happen. There's no doubt about that. Before we wrap things up, Jack, give us your best play of the evening. What do you like? What would be your nap, your best bet?
You know what? You're not going to believe it, but my best bet actually is the Eagles over 25.5 points at -113. The rest is tough.
That is the best play, Jack. Jack going NFL on us. Well, look, good luck to everybody who's playing tonight. Many thanks to Jack for coming on Betting Weekly Live. The live show, of course, back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. We've got a lot of Champions League coming away. We've got Champions League Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week. No Europa League or Conference League. Champions League takes centre stage. It's a new format as well. Lots of really good bets and advice and analysis coming away over the course of the next 3 live shows. From myself and from Jack for now, that is your lot. Hopefully enjoyed it. Many thanks to everybody who has commented on our YouTube channel as well. We'll have this up on replay for you as well, so you can take another look at all the plays that we've mentioned when it comes to the football and the NFL tonight. From myself and Jack, though, it is goodbye.